We're going to start this morning in a reclined position. Oh, by the way, welcome to Christ-Centered Foundational Yoga. This is a basic class available for every level of practitioner. So if you have a couple blankets or some beach towels, we're going to have one going long ways underneath the back. You can have it flat or rolled up, just depending on how much opening you want, and then take another one near the top just to give the head some support. And then if you have a couple blocks or anything else, maybe even more rolled up towels or some like little pillows or something like that, we're going to place those underneath the knees because we're going to start in a reclined butterfly position. So bringing the soles of the feet together, have some blocks or whatever available, laying down, and then place those underneath the thighs or underneath the knees, so we're in a supported variation of this posture. Turning the palms upward, just allow the shoulders to begin to release open, closing your eyes. And then begin to check in, kind of notice your body this morning, any sensations that you're feeling physically, just observing and accepting whatever shows up. And then begin to notice any thoughts, any feelings that are here with you, just showing up for yourself, allowing everything to be exactly as it is. We can't change what we're not aware of. So begin to check in. Notice your breathing. Notice your breathing. Check in with where the breath is located, how deep or shallow your breath is. Where the breath is located. Our breath is our gateway to awareness and presence. And as we bring our attention to the breath, begin to slow and deepen your breathing. Drawing the breath deeply in through the nose, filling into the lungs and the rib cage, all the way into the belly, inflating and expanding as if you had a balloon that you were filling. On the exhale, a softening into the belly, the rib cage, the chest as the breath leaves the body. Let go of all of the breath. Make space for another fresh new inhale, expanding and inflating. Using your diaphragm, that's a muscle that separates our thoracic cavity from our abdominal cavity, and it assists with our breathing. So visualize that muscle pushing down into the belly as the rib cage, the lungs expand. And then as you exhale, feel that diaphragm release, lifting back up toward the chest, helping to release all of the breath. Find a breath pattern that feels natural to you. So maybe your inhales match your exhales. Maybe your exhale is longer than your inhale. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe there's a slight pause at the top and or the bottom of the breath. Know that slow, deep, rhythmic breathing take us from fight or flight into our rest and digest nervous system, into that relaxation response, calming the nervous system, calming the body. Today I want to address something that I've been feeling very and in a very acute way, personally, but then just people that I know and care about. And that is anxiety and worry. With the most recent iteration of our COVID situation, with businesses starting to open again, there has been like a new wave of anxiety. Do I go out in public? Do I not go out in public? Do I cover my face? Do I not? What does the future landscape look like? How do I plan for the future? And it's interesting because we are told in Matthew 6, verse 34, it says, "Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." It's all about being in this present moment. The word worry means to be anxious, to be troubled with cares. And the word anxiety or anxious means experiencing worry, unease, nervousness, typically about an imminent event or something with an uncertain outcome. The reality is that all situations have an uncertain outcome. And we're told not to worry about the future, not to live in the future and be controlled or driven by fear, but instead to trust God in this very moment. So in this moment, continue to breathe as I share a little excerpt from Jesus Calling for Kids by Sarah Young. She says, "Worry makes you afraid and anxious, but you have a choice. And it's a choice that you will have to make 1,000 times every day. You must choose whether to trust me or to worry. Choose to trust me, and I will trade your fear for my peace. Every time you choose me over worry, I will give you even more of my peace. You will never run out of things to worry about. Choose to run to me instead. I will never run out of peace." Take a moment to breathe in trust and presence, breathing out fear and worry, those things that keep us anxious, that feeling of unease or nervousness about uncertain outcomes. Allow those hips to just release by virtue of time, breath, and gravity. Allow the heart to open in the same way. And let the breath just usher you into a space of trust and presence. Breathing in what you need from God in this moment. And breathing out cares and worries about the future, knowing that they're already handled. Slowly begin to bring the legs toward each other. If you have blocks, just move them to the side for the time being. Toe heel your feet to the edges of your mat. And then just allow the knees to come together and kiss. So we're just inner rotating those thigh bones. Just countering that open shape that we were just in. And now very slowly begin to tick-tock knees from side to side. Taking the knees to the right on the exhale. Inhaling, bringing the knees back to center. Exhaling, taking them over to the left. Synchronizing your breath and your movement. So inhaling up and then exhaling as you go to each side. Just a calm, steady breath. When we are anxious or fearful or worried, our breathing becomes shallow and irregular and fast. But we can actually calm down our mind, calm down our nervous system by changing the way that we breathe. Studies show that 3 conscious breaths, like I said, will take us out of fight or flight into the rest and digest nervous system where the body can go into that restful state. Allow the knees to just collapse over to the right now. Maybe gently gaze over your left hand, soften the left shoulder toward the floor. Breathe here. On the inhale, bring the knees back up and then release them over to the left side. Maybe your gaze goes right. Maybe you're breathing in through the nose and out an open mouth. When we breathe in that way, our body releases the chemicals associated with fight or flight, like epinephrine, adrenaline, and cortisol. So continue to breathe out those things associated with fear. As you're ready, roll to that left side for just a moment, and then we're going to move our props out of the way, and then come back onto the back. And so on your back, bring those knees to your chest, give them a squeeze. Gently begin to rock here from side to side. Take your hands below each knee, and we're going to just begin to circle those knees. So take them wide, forward, back together, in toward your chest. Just continue to circle like this a few times. Seeing if you can kind of trace or find the edges of each of your hip sockets, like you're just tracing it from the inside. And then go in the other direction. So you'll notice when you're fearful or worried, we oftentimes clench our teeth, so we might notice tightening in the jaw. We tend to lift our shoulders up toward our ears and round forward to guard the heart space. Just allow those knees to fall now into the armpits or toward the armpits, maybe even into the bows of the elbows. And just breathe here. We also experience tightness in our hips and our low back as our body just prepares for that fight or flight response. And so we're going to be countering the effects of that today. If it's available, reach for the opening in your legs. Maybe hook your first 2 fingers around your big toes and begin to bring those feet up so they're stacking over the knees. If that's not available, you can take a hold of the backs of the calves or the backs of the knees and draw the knees toward the outsides of your ribs. Go with whatever feels best for your body. And in this happy baby, maybe you rock a little side to side. Rocking is very reassuring to the nervous system. So it's another tool available to us, just like the breath. We have these natural ways to calm the body, to calm the nervous system. And they're at our disposal anytime we wish. Good, come back to the center, just kind of in this static shape. Continue to draw those knees toward your armpits. Keep softening the tail down. Also keep softening your shoulder blades toward the mat. So as much of the spine is contacting the earth as possible. Beautiful. Keep the right knee in. Let's send the left leg out long. If it's available, go ahead and extend that leg long, releasing it to the floor. If that's a little too much, just bend into that left knee and place the place the left foot on the floor. Beautiful. And then just kind of wiggle that foot around. So maybe we're circling the foot here. You might notice a little popping and cracking as we bring some movement to the foot, the ankle, the toes. Beautiful. Interlace your hands behind your right leg and then take the heel high. Point and flex the foot here. This helps to return our circulation back toward our heart, so countering the effects of gravity on the body. Also returns the lymph, so drains our lymphatic system and brings that back toward the center of our body, toward the core. And if you get swelling in your legs, this will help with swelling as well. Our calf muscle acts like a little pump, another heart in the lower extremities of our body. Beautiful job. We're going to keep the toes drawn back toward the nose, press the heel up toward the ceiling, straightening into that leg a little bit more, only as available without forcing. And then if it's available for you, take a hold of your right leg. Let's take the left arm out to the side like a wing and begin to open that leg out to the right. Just opening into the right inner thigh, into the right groin. Breathing here. If you want to go deeper, you can always bring your hand to the inside of that foot or thigh or anywhere in between, just depending on what's available. On the inhale, bring that leg back up. Bend the knee, take a hold of the leg with your left hand. Take the right arm out to the side like a wing, and we're going to come into a twist. So that right hip will lift as the knee goes to the left, but keep your right shoulder grounded on the mat, maybe even taking your gaze to the right. Just breathe here, letting go of those thoughts that don't serve you, those cares and worries that keep us bound to an uncertain outcome, rather than being in this present moment and letting God meet you exactly where you are right now. Beautiful. Slowly unravel. And then we're going to just do some extension and flexion of that knee and hip. So straighten into the right leg as if you're kicking that leg in front of you, but floated above the mat. On the exhale, gently draw that knee in, squeeze. Maybe you add a little lift here, bringing the forehead toward the knee, squeeze it out. Inhale, extend that leg out. Hovered above the mat, hugging the muscle to the bone, hugging the torso toward the center of the body, and then draw it back in. Inhale, extend. And then exhale, squeeze. Good, this time. Inhale, extend, releasing that foot to the floor. With your eyes closed, just pause for a moment in Savasana or in this restful position. Nice, and then just bring that left knee in. Again, the hands can wrap around the outside of the shin or behind the knee, and then we're gonna just circle that left foot. If this is too big of a stretch with the right leg extended, you can always bring the right foot to the floor with the knee bent. And just circle it out here. Interlace your fingers behind your left leg, taking the left heel high toward the ceiling, and then point and flex. Keep the breath nice and steady, smoothing out the rough edges. Nice job flexing into that leg. We're going to lift the heel, straightening a little bit more. And then begin to open that leg out to the left. Maybe the right arm goes out to the side like a wing. Your left hand can support the leg from underneath or from the inside. On the inhale, bring that leg up. Let's bend the knee. Take a hold of the leg with the right hand. Take the left arm out to the side, coming into a twist. Your gaze can go to the left as that knee goes to the right. But again, keep relaxing your left shoulder blade toward the mat. Unravel that twist, bringing that knee in, and then we're gonna extend the leg on the inhale, floating it above the mat. Exhale, bend the left knee, hug it in. Maybe bringing your forehead toward your knee. Inhale, extend it. Exhale, hug it in. Inhale, extend. And exhale, squeeze. Beautiful. Inhale, extend, lengthening. Release that foot all the way to the floor. And then again, just rest for a moment. Feeling and sensing into your entire body. Notice if already you have a little more space, you can breathe a little more easily. Good. Gather the knees toward your chest. And then we're going to rock side to side. Each time, go a little closer to the floor so you almost feel like you're going to fall over. And if you do fall over, no big deal. Just come right back to it. It's always good to do something that throws us off kilter every day so that we can continue to practice finding a steadiness and ease of peace in the midst of wobbly circumstances. And then roll to one side. We're going to just pause there for a moment in a fetal position. Rest your head on your inner arm if you like. Just pausing, breathing. Beautiful. Press yourself up. We're going to come onto all fours. So if you're healing in the knees, you may want a blanket flat underneath the knees or a towel, whatever you have available. If not, you can always double up your mat. Just fold it. So the knees will come directly underneath those hips. And then take the hands directly under the shoulders, fanning those fingers wide with the index fingers pointing forward or maybe even angling out slightly. And then we're just going to start circling the knees, circling the hips, excuse me. Just feel that flow and that movement. And then go in the other direction, unwinding. Beautiful. We're going to come center into tabletop. So a nice solid tabletop here. No sway in the low back. So if you have like a dip or a saddle in the low back, kind of lift from the underside of the belly and broaden through the upper back. It might require a little tucking of that tail under as well. And then breathe here, pressing into the hands, the knees, and feet. On the next inhale, take that left foot straight back. Toes are going to point down. Hips are parallel to the floor. So make sure you're not lifting that right hip. If you lift the right hip, you'll notice the toes will go out to the side. So we want the toes pointed down. Great job. And then stretch and reach that left bicep by the left ear if it's available. Breathe here. Keep lifting, keep pressing, foot away from the body, fingertips away from the body. And then exhale, float the hand down, float the knee down. And then circle again. So maybe a couple times in each direction. Coming back to tabletop, nice straight spine, lifting from the underside of the belly, engaging the core. Let's take the left foot back. Check in. You can even look back at your foot to make sure the toes are pointed down and the hips are level. Breathe here. If it's available, add the bicep by the ear. Try to lift into that sway in the back, drawing that navel in. Stretch and reach in opposite directions here. Breathe. On the exhale, float that hand down. Float the knee down. Circle once more, a couple times in each direction. Maybe even a little rounding into the spine as you do. Good, and then we're going to take those knees wide. Bring the toes together. Now if you're healing in your knees, you can always place something underneath the seat like blocks, or you could place the blanket rolled up behind the knees. Take your seat back to whatever feels safe for your body. Walk the hands forward and melt the heart. You can support the forehead with a blanket or a block if you would like, or you can stack the hands and bring the forehead to the hands. See what works best for your body. So last week I had to make some decisions about my training programs and my teaching as to whether or not I was going to be in person. And I felt unsettled. I felt conflicted, confused, the absence of peace, right? And to me, that is always an indicator that something isn't right. If I don't have a peace, then I need to spend some time with God getting clear on what's happening and surrender my anxiety and my worry. Philippians 4 verses 6 through 7 says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. When I slowed down and prayed, it changed everything for me. I was able to have a peace in the decision that I made, and I felt congruent. I felt an integrity of that decision. And so think about that when you start to feel swept away with fear, anxiety. Go to the Lord in prayer. Submit your requests. And you will notice a peace come. Your steps will be guided, your steps will be ordered, and you'll have a peace about it. Slowly begin to come out of child's pose. We're going to walk those hands forward a little bit, keeping the fingers fanned nice and wide. Tuck those toes, knees are about hip-width distance apart. And then bring your chest back toward your thighs. Keep the feet tucked under. We're going to open the bottoms of those feet for a moment. This helps break up the fascia on the bottom of the feet. If it's real tender, it means that you need to do this more often. It helps to prevent things like plantar fasciitis. So this helps to just release and open those feet for us. Press into the hands and then engage the core. We'll begin to lift the hips up. You can always stay in tabletop. You can always stay in child's pose. If not, if you're in down dog, begin to walk your dog out, just alternating heels, one heel, then the other. Good, bend into those knees, pressing the chest back. And then we'll slowly begin to walk our hands back toward our feet. So you're going to walk them backward. Take a big bend in those knees, releasing the belly and the rib cage toward those thighs. Let the head hang. On the inhale, lift halfway, bring the hands to the shins, lengthen the body. We're going to mostly straighten the knees, but keep a soft bend just to keep from hyperextending the knees. Shoulders away from those ears. On the exhale, gently fold it out. Good. On the inhale, sweep, ride that breath all the way up to standing. Straightening the entire body, stacking ears over shoulders, shoulders over the hips. Nice. Interlace the fingers and release the index fingers into temple hands. Lengthen a little bit more. Ground down evenly into both feet. And we're just going to hinge to the right without shifting the weight in our feet. So imagine you have two little scales underneath each of your feet and they're measuring the same right now. So if you're leaning to the right, put a little bit more weight into the left. Inhale, come back up to center. And then exhale, let's hinge over to the other side. Again, check in, evenly distributing the weight across the 2 feet. Inhale, back up to center. And then bend the knees, bring your rib cage to your thighs as you set the tail back, point forward. Good, keep breathing here. On the inhale, press into the feet, straighten the legs, come back up, find a little back bend. Press those hips forward, really stretch the front side of the body. On the exhale, bend the knees, slide the tail back, bring the belly toward those thighs, bending the knees, shoot forward. Relax the shoulders away from the ears if they're lifting. Inhale, come up. Little back bend. Exhale, bend the knees. Hinge at those hips. Nice. Now float the hands down to the floor, and we're going to walk those hands forward. Coming to a high push-up position. Release the knees to the floor. So we're not hiking the hips and we don't have a sway in the back. It's not a back bend, but we're lifting from the underside of the belly, pressing into those hands, making sure we're not dumping into the shoulders. If you want to be in the higher variation with the toes tucked, press the heels away from the body and hug those thighs toward each other. Breathe here. Good. Everybody release the knees. And then the elbows are going to skim the rib cage as we lower down, but we're going to go from the bottom up. So elbows skim the rib cage, bring the thighs toward the mat, then the hips, then the chest, and then the head. Line up the thumbs with the outer edges of your chest, fanning those fingers wide. The elbows are going to want to kind of collapse outward, so bring the elbows in and then slide the elbows backward toward your hips. Press into all 10 toenails, so the tops of the feet pressing into the floor. As you do that, feel the legs engaged, draw the navel toward your spine. And then inhale, pressing up into cobra. Shoulders release back and down. Check in with your breath. Exhale, lower down. Press into those hands and then come all the way back. Child's pose or down dog. Your practice, your level. Breathe here. Melting the heart. Nice. One of the things I love about child's pose is it's inherently humbling. Like we recognize that He is God and we are not. 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 6 through 7 says, "Humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that He may lift you up in due time. Cast all your anxiety on Him, because He cares for you." We think that we're strong when we carry our anxiety and our fear, and it's really a sense of pride and ego. I got this, I can do this. But ultimately, apart from God, we can do nothing. So we have to humble ourselves and allow God to show up for us. Release our anxiety, our fear, and our worry to Him. Slowly begin to come back up. Beautiful. Tucking those toes. Press your chest back toward your thighs, pressing into down dog if you're not already there. And if down dog is not in your practice, no big deal. We're going to find our way to the front of our mat. So however you need to get there, stepping forward to the front of the mat. You might want to have some blocks handy here. So maybe bring them up toward the front of the mat if you have some. Once again, bending those knees, rib cage, belly to the thighs. Head hangs, shoulders away from those ears. Press into the feet, sweep those arms wide. Once again, coming all the way up to standing. And then exhale, bring hands to the heart. Take your hands to your hips, and we're going to step the right foot back. Good. Pivot it on an angle so it's parallel with the back of your mat. Make sure your front knee is tracking with your front foot. So don't let it collapse inward like this. It's an outer rotation of that leg. The knee is kind of lining up with the center of your foot. Hips are going to open. So open the hips toward the side of the room, drawing your heart open as well. Take the arms out to the sides with your palms facing up. Good, lots of breath here. Release the shoulders away from those ears and stretch the fingertips away from the body. Feel the strength in this pose, pressing into the feet like you're spreading the mat apart with those feet. Beautiful job. On the inhale, float the right hand down, straighten the front leg, and reverse this. We're gonna do this a few times. So exhale, back to warrior two. Bend that front knee, line it up with your front foot. Inhale, straighten and reverse. Exhale, back to warrior two. Good, inhale, reverse. Exhale, warrior two. Good, this time, inhale, reverse. We're gonna keep that leg straight in front. Come back up, turn the palms down. Slide your left hand forward, so we're gonna get long in this rib cage, the left side of your rib cage, and then float that hand to the ankle or to the inside of the shin, reaching that right hand high. You can always use a block here, so you could have the left hand on a block, but we want to stay nice and open. So if we're collapsing, lift up, bring that hand up a little higher. Nice job. If you'd like to reach that arm up and over, or maybe even draw circles, we're going to bring some range of motion to that shoulder, only if that feels okay. So if that doesn't work for you, you can bring your hand to your shoulder, and we're just going to do it with the elbow. Good. Keep breathing. Go in the other direction again. You can use the whole arm if you want, or not. Float the hands down to the floor, coming into a runner's lunge. And then float the right knee all the way to the floor. Left knee is going to track with your left foot. Make sure the knee is not going in front of the toes. And then allow the right hip to scope forward and down as you hug this left hip in and back. Bring the hands to the inside. Send this little humble warrior variation. Breathe here. Shoulders back and down, even moving that heart forward here. Keep that left knee hugged into your left arm. Good, now if it's available, maybe we're gonna come down on forearms. Maybe. Keep breathing. Bring the hands back to those blocks or to the floor, and then take your left foot back. You can bring the hands to the floor under the shoulders, and then just kind of tic-tac that heel, just kind of bring things back into alignment, loosen things up. Good, bring that knee down, take the knees wide. Let's come back into child's for a moment before we pick up the other side. Matthew chapter 6 really addresses this idea about worrying. And Jesus says, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is life not more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds in the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life, or a single cubit to your height? And why worry about your clothes? See how the flowers of the field grow? They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you, not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow, and is thrown into the fire, he will not much more clothe you, you of little faith. So do not worry, saying, what shall we eat? What shall we drink? What shall we wear? For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them." Slowly begin to come up. And we're going to make our way back into that down dog, or If you want to just begin to step toward the front of your mat, if down dog is not in your practice, begin to walk forward. Bending into those knees. On the inhale, sweep high, ride the breath. And exhale, bring hands to your heart. Bring your hands to your hips. Let's step the left foot back now. Pivoting the foot so that it's parallel with the back of the mat. Front knee tracking with your front foot. Check in on that. And then orient your hips and your shoulders to the side. Good. See if you can do that without that front knee collapsing. Reach the arms out. Palms are going to face up, shoulders down, reaching those hands away from the body. Good. On your inhale, float the left hand down, straighten the front leg, reverse. Exhale, come back to warrior two. Check in with that front knee. Inhale, reverse. Exhale, come back. Warrior two. Inhale, reverse. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, reverse this time. Keep that front leg straight. Come up, palms face down, shoulders away from those ears. Slide the right hip forward as that left hip slides back. Get long through the rib cage. Float that hand to the inside of the ankle or shin or even the thigh, or use a block. Left hand comes up, triangle pose, breathe. Again, we're gonna draw circles. So you can do circles with that full arm, or maybe bring the hand to the shoulder and just move the elbow around. Your choice. You can go in the other direction. Just bringing movement into the shoulders. Remember, these are areas that get tight from fear. Good, we're gonna windmill those hands all the way down, coming into a low runner's lunge. Float that left knee down, allowing the left hip to sculpt forward and down, hugging the right hip in and back. Move the heart forward, shoulders away from those ears. Bring the hands to the inside of that foot, continuing here, hugging that right knee in toward the arm. Don't forget to breathe. And then release the forearms down if that's available. Check in. Make sure you're not dumping into the shoulders. The crown is an extension of the spine. Nice job. Walk the hands back toward you, and then place the hands to the floor as you take that right foot back. Tick-tock the heel. Good. Come to the knees for a moment, but kind of step back if you have a blanket underneath. We're going to roll that blanket up, creating a seat. You might want to orient sideways on your mat. Totally up to you, not a big deal either way. And then extend the legs out. So the blanket, the edge of the blanket finds the edge of our hips. Beautiful. And then bring the left foot in. Let the right leg extend long. You might want to place something underneath your bent leg for support, just if it feels like it's stressing the knee or the hip, or it's just kind of floating out there. We want that feeling of groundedness, so check in. Good, and then just orient yourself toward your extended leg. On the exhale, begin to hinge at the hips, leading with the heart. So belly comes toward the thigh, and then the heart comes toward the knee as you walk the hands forward. Release the head. Walk the hands back toward you. Bend into that right knee, and we're going to bring the foot behind us. And so you'll have deer legs here. And then we'll go ahead and bring the hands over to the left. Great job. Walk the hands away from you and slowly lower down if that feels okay. Otherwise, just stay lifted up with the hands on the floor. You can always use your blocks as well, so if you want your forearms on your blocks, release the head. What can you let go of here? Breathe it out. Good, bring those hands back toward you. And then we'll switch the legs up. So extend the left leg, bring the right foot to the inside of that thigh. Again, you might want to support the underside of that knee. Toes are going to point up, and then orient yourself over your extended leg. Begin to walk the hands toward the foot. Breathing here. Feel that big stretch into the right side. This also stretches the QL muscle, quadratus lumborum, and it connects from the bottom of your rib cage to the top of your pelvis from behind. Walk those hands back toward you. And then we're going to bring that left foot behind us, staggering the legs. Bring the hands over to the right. Again, you can stay here and just continue to press into the hands and bring the heart forward, or walk the hands forward, coming into a deer twist. Feel free to support, again, using blocks if needed. Breathing out in open mouth, release the jaw. Remember, that is one of the places that we tend to clench when we're afraid, when we're worried. Nice. Slowly walk those hands back toward you, and then swing the legs around. And begin to set yourself up for your final rest position. So whatever that needs to look like. Maybe you want a rolled up blanket behind the knees, or a blanket behind the head, or both. Or maybe you just want to be flat on the mat. Maybe you want to elevate the legs. Choose a posture that feels good for you. And lay down, breathe. Maybe take a moment to do a big full body stretch. Exhaling, releasing through an open mouth and jaw. In fact, do two more like that. Inhale, stretch and lengthen. Exhale, release. And then one more like that. Inhaling, filling up. Exhaling. Settling into your final rest position. Isaiah 35 verse 4 says, "Tell everyone who is discouraged, be strong and do not be afraid. God is coming to your rescue." Let those words penetrate. Tell everyone who is discouraged, be strong. Don't be afraid. God is coming to your rescue. Sink into the silence. Let this be a time of contemplation or prayer. Time of connection. Very slowly begin to awaken the body, bringing some movement to your feet, your toes, your ankles, your fingers, your hands, your wrists. Bend the knees and place the feet on the floor. And just roll to whichever side you didn't do yet. Pausing there for a moment. Resting on your forearm or your inner arm. Slowly begin to press yourself up to a seated position. Take your time. Finding a nice, grounded, seated position. And bring your hands to your heart center. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I thank you for this time today. For the reminder that we shouldn't worry, we shouldn't be anxious, but instead we should come to you with all our cares and worries, trusting in you, knowing that you are our helper, you will provide for us, that you've got all of the future sorted out. Working all things for good. When we can't see the outcome, which normally we can't, our minds run away with us sometimes. Sometimes we think the worst, fear the worst. But you are a God that brings good things. God that has plans for us, to prosper us, to give us hope and a future. Father, help us rest in your truth. Help us rest in you. Remind us to breathe and be steady. And to be still and know that you are God. We lift this all up in your mighty and powerful name. Amen.